So, Mr. Anderson, is this your first time in Belgium?
Scared me.
Hop.
That was me.
It was? Get out. Hi, everybody.
Ah,
I'm sorry I'm late.
Fais-en plusieurs. Hein. C'est pas forcément. Il y a de la place, j'ai vidé la carte. Chut.
Sorry I'm late. They didn't tell me that the panel was in Flanders. We had to walk quite a ways. It's a little joke, very little. I usually just start out by asking 4 questions because extemporaneous speaking is not my forte, but I'm willing to learn. So if you just want to go around the room and each one of you, we'll have plenty of time. That's another joke. We'll just start taking questions if that's all right. Is that all right? I don't know who's in charge here. Who is? You are. Yeah, let's just do that so we can kick off. Anything you want to know. Anything.
Oh, yes.
Hello. I have a question about MacGyver. And the question I have is, you were born in Minnesota, MacGyver was born in Minnesota.
Yes.
You both play ice hockey. The Challengers Club is also a real thing, I believe.
It is.
So I'm wondering in how much your input was in the show. Did they create the character according to your character in real life, or what's the reason that it's so similar in certain things?
Good casting. Actually, what really happened was that I got cast in the role. It's a long, old story, but once we started production and the script started being produced, they started realizing that in my time off, any time off that I might have, I would go off and go skiing in the mountains. I'd go down the yellow ship and get in trouble there. I raced cars later on when we moved to Canada, and played hockey. And what they started to do is just started to write around things that I did as a kid, so they could, I don't know, it's not that we were getting scrapped for ideas, but they found it much easier to write to my abilities. It also allowed me to do all my own stunts to a certain degree. Not all my own stunts, but for a great hi. And that was a lot of fun. But yeah, the parallels were there. After about the second or third year, I started, being a part of some of the production meetings and throwing ideas in. But it was the first big show I had ever done, so I was, at first very green about the production end of it, but quickly learned and then became a real crack.
What has been your favorite trick in the MacGyver series?
Well, there's, I don't know how many remember when,
No? Okay.
the very beginning when we started off the show, we had these little, trailers. They were 7 minutes or less, kind of introductions into the show. They were they kind of stood on their own. There's the opening credit, and then you go to immediately to some scene somewhere around the world, and he's getting out of some kind of predicament. Those were an entity unto their own. Somehow, sometimes if we were lucky, it would attach onto the main body of the show. Eventually, we stopped doing those things because it was just, there's too much to do. We just made it one big, long show. But my favorite stunt that I got to do, and also visually, I thought it was the best thing I'd ever seen at the time. But there was a scene where MacGyver is running away from the bad guys, go figure. And we were in the desert somewhere, or somewhere near the ocean, and where the desert meets the sea. But, so I get out of this tent, and I'll use me and the guy was the same guy, okay? Get out of this, sneak out of this tent, and I've got a map, and I use it as a toboggan or something down the sand dunes and run to another place where I find a horse that's all saddled up and perfect. And then I started racing away, and the bad guys on horseback come racing after me. And I got to do all my own riding for that. And then we come to the point where he's lost if he doesn't have some real out in this vast beach area. So a helicopter conveniently flies from behind everybody with a large rope with a big hook on the end of it. And as I'm galloping along, actually not so much galloping as running, racing, any horse people, going fast. And they come from below, and I grab this rope with the hook and I pull it down, and conveniently there's a hole in the saddle where I can put the hook. Anybody remember this part yet?
Yeah.
And the helicopter proceeds to lift me into the air, and poor horse kind of, its legs start moving, but then relaxed into realizing that he was flying. But they wouldn't let me fly away with the horse. I got to do all the activity and action and I got to lift off maybe about 7. Yeah, not even 7, I'm exaggerating, a couple of feet. And then they cut, and they put the stunt guy on, and he got to fly away on a horse. Right away, I started getting pouty about that. But that was my favorite thing to do at the time. I only wish I had flown away with the horse.
Hello. When you were playing for the first time General O'Neill, did you expect that it would be so successful and that it would be for 10 years?
No.
No. So, and do you believe that one day maybe we can find stuff like the Stargate to go through the world?
If only, huh?
If only. Do you believe that it will be possible maybe one day?
Well, okay, sure. It's pretty. A lot of the science fiction that you see, like, is it The Martian, where they use the black hole, or there's some passing through the black hole? It's one of the
Interstellar.
movies lately.
Interstellar.
What is it?
Interstellar.
Interstellar.
Interstellar, really? Is that how realistic did it look?
Not.
Not? You say that.
Quite confusing.
It's quite confusing, yeah. Well, that brings up a point. How many watched Stargate Universe?
Not much.
Well, one of the reasons I think that it didn't last is, longer than whatever it lasted, because it was so heady, it was so, you have to think about, or at least for me, I know I went on and did an episode, I think, or 2, and the script that they handed me and that I read must like a dozen times, and I never understood it. I never understood this parallel universe business. And of course, in my mind, I wanted to figure out how would that actually, come on, man. And I've got a fairly okay imagination, but I still couldn't make my peace with it. So anytime you see me in Stargate Universe, I'm absolutely, totally confused. I have no idea. I sort of memorized the lines, but I could have been talking to a wall for all I know. It was just brutal. But I would love to believe it, but I have too pragmatic a mind to really buy into it. I love science and physics and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know, can't quite come to, you know, this big ring of water through which you pass to other galaxies and universes.
Ok. Thank you.
It would be a great way to get from, let's say, Ghent. Is that pronounced Ghent?
Yes. Yeah.
Not Gent. Fritz. He's quite a gentleman.
Gentleman.
There was something else to that question at the beginning of it, but I tend to get long-winded. What was it? David? What was my favorite? Oh, I'm so glad you did.
Hi, my question is still about Stargate, and if by any miracle there's a movie or a TV show or just, you know, a continuation of the TV show, not a reboot or a remake, but a continuation of the TV show, and we contact you, would you do it? Would you come back?
Yeah, I think I would. Well, it would depend on a lot of things, of course.
Money.
Play the actor role here now and speak like an actor. If the story was great and it had a good, all that other belong.
Or maybe not.
But what I honestly do miss going to work and working with those people, and including the writers and the other producers and such. It was really a nice family that we had. It was close-knit. We all kind of liked each other, and just got along. You can't ask for anything more for a work environment. That part I'd love to do again. As far as another Stargate, well, let me go to something. I tend to do this. Just stop me if you've heard this one. No, if apparently they're doing another MacGyver TV show. A pilot? It's not picked up for anything?
No.
No episode?
Was it too bad?
Huh?
It was too bad.
That was the old one?
It was horrible.
Don't mess with me, man. Anyway, there has been rumors, but apparently there is some credibility to it, or some weight to the
MacGyver, il y
whole
en a qu'un.
notion. They never approached me to be a part of it at all, which is fine. I'm not offended at all. It saves me from saying, or it keeps me from having to say no, because I felt MacGyver belonged in the 80s. I mean, that hair alone belonged right in the center. It started in 85, and I think we finished up in 92-ish. I felt that franchise belonged right there. It was, you know, we were unique to the television arena. I mean, we had a different concept altogether. The A-Team was on at the same time, so they were the guys that solved everything with guns. We were the ones without, and we were proud of that. But so consequently, I don't know that I would want to be a part of the new MacGyver. As far as Stargate goes, oh, I know what I was going to say. The element of either role, I would have to have some things agreed to before I agreed to be a part of either one of them. And that is, would they allow me to create or continue the character as if time has gone by? And he's slightly grayer, a little fatter, which is easy for me to play these days. I'd love to be a part of it then. It was, you know, MacGyver doesn't bounce off things quite as readily. It takes him forever to stand up, and his knees are bad. All those kind of human things that so many shows ignore when doing a sequel. But so I don't know, if Stargate came around, I would really want to play it that way as opposed to picking up where we left off. What was the question? Anybody else? Okay, bye.
Hey there. I have two questions, actually. One is, Belgium has been struck by terrorism quite recently, and thank God you came. My question is, how would Angus MacGyver react to such a threat of terrorism, and how would Jack O'Neill? And my second question is, have you ever gotten hurt while shooting for either MacGyver or Stargate?
I don't know, the television venue, the episodic, fictitious, I don't know if that's the place to be messing around with how would a character, a fictitious character react to that, unless it was Jack O'Neill who himself armed himself to the teeth and concoct some plan to take him out. If we're in the confines of that hour that Stargate existed within, I'm haunted by my father. He was a speech and English teacher, so I'm always like filtering myself. But MacGyver, I don't know. MacGyver wouldn't. It's too much of a stretch to think that he would take a rubber band and a Band-Aid and beat the ISIS guys. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Got a whole box of Band-Aids at home. But of course, O'Neill being a military guy, he would be connected in some way. And take one of those newfangled, what would we call NR-30s or something, alien ships, and beat those bad guys. But again, I apologize, but I have a good or clever answer for that, but I just don't. I don't know. I can't put any television character into that very real, that reality. What was the other question?
Were you ever hurt yourself in the shooting?
Many times. A lot. The worst thing was when I hurt my back, because that's been with me for the rest of my life. Simple, dumb story. It was just, I wasn't even doing a stunt. I was running across during a shot. Camera was on me, and I was a little far away. The camera's set up on a long lens, and I'm just running towards camera, and we hadn't scouted, and there was grass up to my knees, so I couldn't really see the ground. I just put my foot in a chuck hole and just snapped right down to the ground. Ended up doing a shoulder roll and came up kind of, it was very comical actually looking at this. I went down out of frame and then popped up like, but during that fall I felt something odd happening in my lower back. That exact night I was out for my Thursday night hockey event. And I'd gotten all geared up, and I was just stepping over the boards to go out on the ice. And there was like this explosion of hot, molten lead, and my lower back just went, like it exploded. And I could feel, anybody who's had problems with their sciatica will know what that is, but it just started crawling down the back of my leg. Got myself home, and I was paralyzed for 4 days after that. I had no use of the left side of my lower body. So it was a very humbling moment and scary for me, because usually when I got hurt before that, I never paid attention to anything. Just kind of brush it off or whatever it took. But this one got my attention, and it's been a problem. So let this be a warning. If you hurt your back, heed the signs, especially if you're young. Anyway, it's been a problem ever since, and I've recently had a little procedure to fix some stuff. But boys will be boys. And sometimes girls.
Hi, thanks for coming to Belgium and supporting.
Thank you, Al.
This is kind of a two-parter. If you maybe remember, MacGyver went vegetarian in season 6 and 7.
He was?
Yeah. And I wondered if you influenced that and had a vegetarian face, so to speak. And the other part is, what are your thoughts on what Sea Shepherd says in Cowspiracy and how what's different events that by 2040, 2050, this planet won't be able to sustain our kind of animal agriculture for 9 billion people.
That's a little much for me right now. I don't think I can get into that. It sounds terrible the way you explain it. And I have not spoken with Paul Watson lately. There. Thank you. What was the question? What was the first question? The second one I can't take on. There's too much there. Sea Shepherd is, for those of you who don't know, is there anybody? Yeah, probably do. It's a great organization that I grabbed onto the coattails of Captain Paul Watson maybe 15, 18 years ago. Bottom line is that, well, he started, co-started Greenpeace, that they weren't doing enough, they weren't as confrontational as Paul wanted to be at the time. So he started the Sea Shepherd and uses the ships to actually confront the illegal whalers primarily, and it's all started kind of in the sanctuary south of Australia and just like the Antarctic area. The Japanese whaling industry is just so blind to 21st century culture of what things can be done with, Viagra. They, I don't mean to, it's not just for that. What they do is illegal. They're whaling and overfishing that part of the world, and quite illegally. It's been deemed illegal to take. They have a quota, but they've always at least doubled or tripled the amount of whales that they'll take in any given season. What we've been doing over the years, just chasing them and confronting them and getting in the way and occasionally colliding with the ships. And it's all, I don't know if any of you watched the Whale Wars, but that's where it's all kind of been chronicled most recently a couple of years ago. But my association with that has just been because it's such a great cause for such a great, it's all volunteer. We get no sponsorship from it, whales are us or anything like that. But I don't know, it's just a great cause. It has something to do with water. I like water. I'm sticking to it.
We've got time for one final question.
What? One?
Time flies.
When you're babbling on. Sorry.
Hi. Which part did you love playing the most, MacGyver or Neil, and why?
Has anybody seen Legend? The really tree.
Qu'est-ce qu'il dit?
There's a lot of things
That's
with
really
legends.
cool. My friends in the front there. That was a show that I loved the most doing. I've looked at it recently because I got to play a 18th century drinker. Oh, actually what it was a dime novelist who write these dime novels and with adventures, and the main character is Nicodemus Legend. And the character himself, or the character that he would write, or the author's name was Ernest Pratt. So I portrayed Ernest Pratt, but occasionally would be forced to play Nicodemus Legend. The Legend was, say Pratt was a drinker, a gambler, a womanizer, all the things that I love in life. Forget the guy, I was more like that guy at the time. I kid. And the character that he was writing, of course, was very, he was a hero. And he kind of looked like one. He took postures of one, wore these beautiful matching leather. Anyway, it was a lot of fun to play because it was unlike anything I had ever played before. But between the two that you're familiar with, I don't know. Jury's still out on that. I had so much fun doing MacGyver because it was my first really sustained role over, it was a series that I got to do. And the character did stuff sort of cleverly, which was nice to be written for. But I gotta give it to O'Neill. O'Neill was really a lot of fun to play, especially when I, made my peace with the writers and they allowed me to improvise during the rehearsals, and then settling on something so the camera guys knew what to do. But once I made my peace with those folks, I think O'Neill was just too much fun. And he was smart ass is what he was. All military guys in the United States are just like that.
Je suis sûre.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up, Richard Dean Anderson!
I don't